everyone, this is Stephanie. I go by StampJG here on YouTube and at my blog at stampjg.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I have the We Are Memory Keepers Foil Quill Pen to show you in action. It is an accessory for your electronic die cut machine, and it allows you to sketch. It's like a sketch pen in place of say cutting or using a sketch pen onto your project. The starter kit, which I will show you in action, comes with all three of the available pens. And this is a fine point, a standard or medium point, and a broad point. And these heat up and they transfer a special foil onto your project. You will need a USB source, and this is where it's going to differ for everybody who's using a different machine. I am using a Silhouette Cameo 3, and this will not power from the machine. So I cannot plug this into the USB port on my machine and run it from there. I have to run it from an extension cord or a power strip from my wall into this. You probably could use a power bank, or if your computer's nearby, you do need to be within, they tell you 2 feet, and they are right. You need to be within 2 feet of your machine for this to be able to move and do as it needs to. So those are the kind of the little caveats with this. Again, it'll work with any machine that I'm aware of on the market because it has little adapters for each machine. Like I've got the adapter for the Silhouette Cameo, and I am using, that is the tool that I am using. You can buy these individually, so if you thought I'm only ever going to use the broad point, then you can purchase it separately. And I believe they all come with the adapters. So that's one of the things, is that because We Are Memory Keepers is not an electronic die cut machine manufacturer, they've gone ahead and tried to figure out how each one of these will fit into each one of your die cut machines. And it takes the place of a sketch pen. So if you know how to use a sketch pen or can learn how to use a sketch pen, then this is going to work really well for you. I have tried it out before I filmed this intro, and honestly I'm pretty happy with it. It does a really good job. I'm looking forward to getting more designs and more foil because I need more foil. So anyhow, let's go into the craft room and put this We Are Memory Keepers Foil Quill Pen into action. Let's go. So let's take a look at what's included in the We Are Memory Keepers Foil Quill Pen Starter Kit. The kit includes a manual, the 3 of the heat tools, the adapters that you need to put them in your machine, a roll of washi tape, a heat shield, and 3 rolls of foil. This is special heat activated foil. So let's take a look at the pamphlet that We Are Memory Keepers calls the instruction manual, and you'll notice that it is in English, Spanish, French, and German, and the instructions are about 6 pages or 5.5 pages long. First of all, you will always note, and it will be repeated throughout the pamphlet, that you always unplug the foil quill when not in use. This is a safety feature because the heat tool or the heat pens are on when they're plugged in. There's no on and off switch, so when they're plugged in they are heated up, so, and they do get very hot. The instructions tell you which adapter to use with your die cut machine. For example, A is for Silhouette, B is for Brother, C is for Cricut, and D is for Sizzix. So they include all 4 adapters in the box, but you only need to use the adapter for the tool that you have, or tools that you have, as the case may be. I have a Silhouette Cameo, so I use adapter A. And these I can just store because I do not own any of these machines. The basic instructions, or the quick start instructions, are to choose your adapter, insert it into your machine, Plug in your heat tool, let it go over the foil that you've taped down. Make sure that you use the heat shield, which is this right here. It is a non-conducive metal that slips underneath your heat tool when it's in your machine to protect the machine or the parts or your project or whatever. So this goes in your machine while the tool's heating and in use. It gives more safety precautions. Please be very careful with it. It is very hot. Setup, it tells you again which adapters to use. It'll allow the foil quill to heat up 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes to heat up before it is used, and I will agree, yes, it heats up enough in 5 minutes. It also says that it will work on paper, cardstock, bookboard, vinyl, acetate, vellum, leather, and wood. Your machine may or may not accommodate these items, but this is what the foil will work on if your machine will accommodate those items. And it also lets you know that you might need to test your settings, and I think this is very important because you might need to go slower or faster, or have another pass or something in order to get results that you want. So always test your first projects on something that's not important. That way when you go move to your final project what your settings need to be to properly or correctly with your machinery or your materials. Do not exceed 3 hours of continuous runtime. And I will say, from having used the machine and playing with it and let it sit and heat up while I was figuring stuff out, it gets really warm and the area around it gets warm, including the little carrier that it was in. The sketch pen carrier started getting warm. So I will say, do not leave this unattended. And again, please follow all safety precautions. You also get 3 rolls of starter. I think they're starter rolls. I am not sure what size their normal rolls are, but these are 6 inches tall by 4.5 feet wide. I took one out and measured it. So that's what you get in the kit. Now the cool part about this, and again, I think I showed you the washi tape. It's washi-like tape. It may be a little bit different. It seems very much like washi tape. It's got a very good tack to it, but it seems not to rip anything. I haven't had it rip anything. So, of course, the main part of the kit is the heat tool, or the heat pens. And the difference in these is that the tips are different width. You have a fine point, a medium or regular point, or standard I guess they're calling it, and a broad point. And these are all housed in plastic, but you can see inside how there is a metal unit that heats up and gets very hot. So you do not want to be touching, especially the metal parts, while these have been heat up, or when you're taking them out of the machine. You want to be very careful with them. So this is the fine point. This is the standard or medium point. And this is the broad point. You can see quite a bit of a difference. Things to keep in mind when you're using the We Are Memory Keepers Foil Quill Pen or heat tools is that these are a third-party accessory to whatever die cut machine that you have. We Are Memory Keepers has not created your die cut machine, but they've done the best, I believe, that they could to create adapters, of course, that would fit all the machines that are on the market. So they won't have instructions, or there won't be references in the software of your machine to using a heat tool, but there will be instructions on how to use a sketch pen, and that's basically what these are, is a heated sketch pen. Something else to keep in mind is that these do get very hot and they could burn you. So these metal tips get extremely hot. so be careful with them. The cords on them are about 31 to 32 inches from, you know, between the plug end and the tool end is about 32 inches. So you do need to have these plugged in close to your machine. Again, in my case, the Silhouette Cameo does not, the onboard USB port does not power anything, so I'm not able to plug this into the side of my machine and use it. I've had to either have a cell phone adapter plugged into a power strip, or I've actually been able to use a small power bank I got to help boost my cell phone power, and it worked very well with these to heat them up and keep them running long enough to make a project. So now that we know what's in the box, let's go take a look at what it will do. To set up our test today, I've got a piece of Neenah 80-pound Silhouette Classic Crest. This is typical weight for making cards. And I am going to put it on my Silhouette Cameo mat up here in the corner. And then I'm going to take some foil. And if you get it on your mat, it sticks. Okay, everything is anchored down, and this is just to keep the foil in place as the pen rolls over it. And so now that my little test is prepared, I will bring it over to the machine and we can start there. Now with the same piece of artwork, I'm going to run it on each of these 3 squares with a different pen width, and I've got one in case I mess up and need to have another one, but they're all the same foil, the same paper. The only difference in any of these is going to be the width of the pen that I use. So let's go to the Cameo. For the sake of the video, I have moved my Cameo over to my craft desk. It doesn't quite fit the greatest, but I'm going to do the best I can to show you this in action. So I have our prepped mat, and I'm going to load it into my machine. Okay, the foil quill pen comes with an adapter. So if I take this off, you can see here's the foil quill pen, and I put the adapter that is specific for my machine, in this case it's adapter A, onto my pen, and I load it into my Cameo. I'm going to load it into the blue pen slot, and it's ready to go. Now you noticed this end is not plugged in. I've got a small power bank that is used to power a cell phone, and I'm going to try this. So when I plug it in, you'll notice that my foil quill pen lights up. You can kind of see it over here. Each of the pen will light up when it's plugged into the power bank. So we'll have to see, and the instructions tell us to let it wait 5 minutes, so that's what I'm going to do. While I'm doing that, I'll show you what this is for. This is the little heat shield tool that comes with it, and you've kind of put it under your heat. You put it under the tip of the pen so that it doesn't harm or burn anything. You can see one of the things that you need to know is that you need to be within range of the cord. So the cord is about 31 or 32 inches, kind of give or take a little bit. I think for this one it was like 31.5 inches. So you really want to be, like the instructions say, within 2 feet of your project, and that will enable the cord to move with your project. So I'm going to set it off to the side here. So in 5 minutes I will come back and we will be ready to sketch with the heat tool. Here we are at my PC. I have Silhouette Studio Designer Edition software. I have pre-created a few areas. You can see these square boxes on my screen that I'm going to do this Hello Spring kind of motif that I've come up with. I'm going to copy it into different boxes, and I'm going to show you at the end what this looks like with 3 of the different tips that come with the We Are Memory Keepers Foil Quill Pen starter set. But I wanted to bring you into the software first to give you a couple of tips and tricks on creating your design first, and then we'll go into what the pen actually does. Now, I do not have a Cricut or a Brother machine, so I am not sure how that software works. I can show you how it works in the Designer Edition for Silhouette Studio, and I'm guessing it'll be probably pretty similar to how you work with the other software that comes with your electronic die cut tool. So first of all, we type the word hello. This is an Arial font. It's in 72 points, and you can see it here. Now, normally in the red, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Normally this red is going to be a cut line, but the way that the We Are Memory Keepers Foil Quill Pen works is it is a sketch pen. It is a heat sketch pen, basically, is what it is. So anything that's a line will actually be a sketch line instead of a cut line when you go to use the software. Unless there's a way to fill in these, and I think there are some tools within the software that you could fill in here with some hash marks and stuff. You know, it's not going to fill it in. You are not going to get a solid font like you're used to seeing as if you were to cut this out. And you will see this very clearly when I put the tool into action, and you can see what it does with this. It is going to follow the outside of these letters, and I'm going to get an outline of the word hello. Now the word spring, I did it in a font I downloaded from the Silhouette store called Kismet, and I am working with that on a 100 point. I just move it over here a little bit. I can fiddle with it later. And then the little clover, I just size here. So I will copy and paste this into the other boxes so it's all the same thing. But I'm going to zoom in a little further, and I want to show you a really helpful tip and trick when working with fonts that connect. Okay, we're zoomed way in here. You can see here that the font, the scripty style font, has overlapping cut lines, or in this case it'll be sketch lines. So if you take this over and try to sketch it now without welding it, you will end up with a line that comes around the S into the P, and you'll have the P, outline of the P, so you will have every single line that you see on here will show up. So you don't want to do that. So before you send your scripty style font to your machine to be sketched, you want to weld it together. Wherever it overlaps, it'll weld. And there's a tool up here, or I have a modify window, and if I click weld, they're all gone now. Everywhere where it overlapped, it kind of mushed it all together. So I am going to group these so I don't lose the dot on my I, and I can move it around. So this way now when I send it to the Silhouette as a sketch instead of a cut, I can cut part of it outside later if I wanted to. But the sketch part of it will now be an outline of each of these words and this little icon. Okay, so I am ready to send my project to my Silhouette Cameo, and I'm going to talk about couple of the things that I did off of camera. Over here I changed my tool to tool 2. It just ends up being where I put the sketch pen. I don't know that it matters. And over here I have selected heavy cardstock. That's my standard when I'm working with cardstock. The action is sketch.
So, you know, my actions would be to cut normally, but in this case I'm sketching. And instead of using a sketch pen, which is the default, I've chosen the pen holder. That way I can use my tool. I have selected 3 out of the 4 boxes and have set it to no sketch. That way they are not going to come through on this round. The pen is not going to pay attention to them because this round I've got the medium pen or the standard size pen, and I am going to do the one off in the bottom right. The standard settings for this are speed of 10, force of 18, and 1 pass, and I'm just going to run with that. I think that will work fine. So we are ready to send. You can tell my Cameo is connected. I'm using Bluetooth. It is across the room underneath my craft lights, and I'm going to go ahead and send it through.
Okay, our time is up. Let's go pull out our heat shield. And this is not warm at all, so this is not a conducive metal. And I'm going to hit the send button. Here you can see that the foil has been transferred. It's a little wrinkly on the outside, but I'm going to wait for the big reveal until we do the other 3. Okay, so there's number 2. Okay, for this last one, because I didn't mess up either one of the ones on the bottom, I am going to do both of these with the fine point pen, and you can tell it's plugged in. It's heating up with my little USB power bank here. And when it's ready, I'll just take out this little metal tool and send the job to the machine. So let's take this off. I'll move the Cameo out of the way and we will see what we have. This off the carrier sheet. Okay, I peeled this off my Silhouette too fast and it curled, so I've got scissors anchoring them down. So are you ready? This is my medium tip. This is the medium point. And this is the foil. Once it was all used, you can tell that the passes that the machine makes. And there, look. I will have close-ups on my blog. I will take photos and put them on my blog, and maybe I'll insert a couple of photos here. Now I want to point out here where this O is, I had a piece of tape. So this is not the, I had a piece of tape in the way and that probably did that. Oh, these are pretty. Okay. This is with the medium point, the teal color, kind of the aqua color. I don't know if you can see the point on that, but this is the point on this one, and this is the medium, and this is what it produced. Very nice. Okay, so here is a look at what it looks like very, very close up. I'm going to move over to this one. And this is the broad point. This was done with the navy blue pen. And you can tell the tip on this one is very clear to see. And on some of the finer lines where it was closer together, you get more foil. Again, I'm going to point out here, I had a piece of tape on the edge and it did not transfer foil because of the tape. That is the only reason why. But you can see, let me bring it way in. I don't know, you all, this is stunning. This is absolutely beautiful. And this is the copper foil, which I guess in this light looks kind of rose gold, which I know is going to make a lot of us happy because I like rose gold. And the two on the top, let me zoom out for a minute. The two on the top were done with the fine point, the light pink one. I don't know if you can, the point on that one is very small, and these are very delicate. You get a lot of detail with this. So I'm going to zoom in on one of these. Zoom in. And show you that all of this is foil. Now again, these were fonts that I had on my machine. And as I pointed out earlier, this looks like a solid font when you print it. However, in cutting world, it has an outline, and that's what the sketch pens are going to take after. They're going to go along the outline. If you have a broader pen, of course, you can get a thicker outline. And a finer pen, you get a very delicate outline. Again, this is the one in the middle of them. So I'm going to zoom back out so you can see all of them again together. These two were done with the fine point, which is the pink. This was done with the medium point, which is the aqua or teal color casing. And this was done with the navy blue casing, which is the broad point of the heat tool. I don't know, there's just so many possibilities with this that I'm very excited. I'm just going to sit here and go like this all day long. It's very pretty. So here's what happens when you have different types of foil. I have deco foil and mink foil, and I have used the same design as previously, but this is with the medium tip or the standard tip with the We Are Memory Keepers Foil Quill Pen. And I am going to reveal here how this worked. Neither of these foils say they're for use with this pen, but I just knew it was going to be out there. So the mink foil actually transferred a little bit, and I'm wondering if I played with the settings a little bit on my pen, maybe made it a little slower so that it would have time. Maybe it will transfer, because some of it did transfer very, very well, and some of it did not transfer well. So here's that. I got a nice little indent, which is kind of interesting. It's almost embossed. It kind of embossed it, but there was absolutely no transfer. And I honestly was not expecting any transfer with the deco foil, because it is not made to work with heat so much as it's made to work with a glue or a toner or something that will melt into the backing and pull it off the transfer sheet. But the Mink actually did all right. I'm kind of impressed. As I said, I'll work a little bit with the settings, but We Are Memory Keepers is going to have a whole bunch of different kind of foils that you can get. So that is working with different foils with the We Are Memory Keepers Foil Quill Pen. But I also want to note another little public service announcement is that if you use foil with your machine, you need to be a little bit careful. I, by accident, caught this on the edge of my sticky mat and it took the foil off. So now I'll have to, I'm not sure how if I'll ever be able to get that off my mat until I replace it. Maybe I can scrape it off. But be careful when you're using foil with the sticky mat. If you get your foil on your mat, it's there. It's just there. Well, thank you for joining me today. I hope you had fun and really enjoyed learning about the We Are Memory Keepers Foil Quill Pen. I have enjoyed working with it. I think it's a good tool. If you buy the starter kit, it's about $100 unless you can find it on sale somewhere. And so it's not a everyday tool. You know, it's not it's a save your pennies tool. And unless you want one of them, and then they're about $40 each, give or take a little bit, depending upon shipping and where you're able to find them online. I will leave links to these online if I can find them somewhere to link. And I really appreciate you joining me. If you have any other tools or products that you would like to see in action, just let me know in the comments below. Please like or subscribe if you are interested in seeing more videos from me. And I really appreciate you joining me today. Take care.